Okay, welcome everybody. I'm super excited today. I'm Krista Reynolds, and I'm going to be having a really, hopefully, deep and inspiring conversation with my friend John Binder, who is here with me today. He was a Californian, as I am, and he and his family took a leap of faith a couple years ago and decided to go across a wide pond, if you will, over to the lands of Portugal. And I think a lot of reasoning behind that is John has a very spiritual background. I think he knows that there's a lot of beautiful things getting co-created over in this region, as well as he is a life coach. He helps people on all different facets of life see their way into success and understanding of who they are spiritually. So I'm excited to have this conversation with them. John, I want you to introduce yourself briefly here and let
Sure.
people know a little bit more that I haven't really said. And then I'd love us to dive into what our future holds, what's possible, and what's needed by all of us at this time.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, so we met in California. We met in the Bay Area, Marin, where I lived for almost 12 years before moving out here. So I'm a lifelong born and raised in the Bay Area of San Francisco. Um, and for most of my life, I was following the path that I thought I should. It was, the story we're told, get good grades, go to college, get a good job, meet the girl, get married, um, and be successful. And
You,
most for me,
followed the programming
I followed
perfectly.
the programming, the script, and in my mid 40s, I started feeling a little out of balance with that. I started having some health issues, and I was in the world of health and wellness. I went to business school, and then I was at startups in the health and wellness space for about 15, 20 years. And so I knew a lot about health. First, it was more physical health, and then it was more biological health startups. Um, and so as started having these health issues, um, I was coming at it from purely a physical framework. So did the blood test and were my hormones in balance, um, and these symptoms kept getting worse and worse. And a few times I actually went to the hospital with
Mm.
what I thought were heart attacks. So that was kind of the symptoms I was having. And that was my wake up call, and uh, that led to anxiety because I was always fearful that this was going to happen. I had a situation where I was driving with my family, and my heart started freaking out. And so then I became scared. And so eventually I had to come to the point where I had to really look at this at a deeper level, like what is going on? And what I realized is over time that this was energetic, this was emotional. And as I went deeper into it, I realized it was actually I'll say a spiritual imbalance. And I wasn't someone who was spiritual. I thought in those terms. I always thought of myself as open-minded. Um, but so started doing that was the beginning around probably 2016, 2017 of like starting to do the deeper work. And
So
that,
you realize
yeah,
that maybe spiritually you created this.
sure. Yeah, this might,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it sounds like you kept focusing on it as a worry. And
Right.
I think when we focus so intently on something, it starts manifesting itself. And that the mind is that spiritual until we understand that it is spirit, like you're talking about. I mean, spiritual gets really mixed up because
Right.
we immediately think we have to hone in on a religion or we have to hone in on some ideology, but we're really just spirit, like
Yeah.
in its own essence, if you will. And that spirit is movable and changeable and but please continue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's definitely an energetic imbalance.
Yeah.
And because I kept forcing my way down this path. What's the next startup I'm going to join? How do I how do I measure up to this preconceived notion of what success was? And I had a beautiful life. I still do. I was married. I had young kids. Everything. I was living in a nice house. Everything. I was very fortunate. I've been fortunate my whole life, and yet something felt off. Something felt off. And so for me, this imbalance was that I was forcing myself down the road of should, the path I should take. And I wasn't clear at all um, on what was the path that was really in alignment with
What your
my
spirit
gut,
wanted to
my
take.
spirit, my yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That permeable, movable, expansive, connected um, part of ourselves, which it holds itself in this container, if you will, of
Right,
restrictions and compression and programming. And yeah, we just keep signing up for it, because
for
it's
sure.
safe. It's safe. We don't have to take any risks. We can just, follow the little,
Right,
breadcrumbs right to, what happens at grandma's house.
exactly, exactly. So that's,
Yeah.
it was really what I came to start distinguishing was the mind versus the heart or the soul.
Yeah.
And I was definitely very much someone who was very analytical and strategic and thinking. And the way I operated my whole life was to be the good boy, the people pleaser, the diplomat. And so I always wanted everything to be okay, and I wanted to come across that everything was okay. So for me, I realized, um, oh, well, early on, I thought, well, I don't have any trauma. And my parents got a divorce, and you know, but overall, I've had a blessed life. But what I realized is that, um, and trauma is one of those words that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. And for me, I thought it meant people that had abuse or were in a war zone or real intense experiences. And mine was more like paper cuts over my entire life. I realized just by holding things in and not speaking my truth and not letting people know that things weren't great, because I always had to put on the smiley face,
And risking that moment and
right?
that
Being vulnerable,
relationship, being vulnerable and maybe not being met at the same place you're coming from, which is what makes us contract again.
right?
Because and expecting that person to meet you there is also a large order because they're going through their own experience around this. And it takes a pretty big person to be able to really hang in there through that, and be
Yeah.
able to really process it and understand it. And it's really getting in touch with your dark side.
I had to face all of that,
Yeah.
all of that,
Yeah. I
and
mean, and to think you don't
the
have
shadows.
one is
Yes,
where the arrogance and the pride and the struggles really, because you really never can be in relationship with anyone without some
right.
understanding of your dark side. You will never fulfill or have a fulfilling relationship like you would hope for without it. And I think people, I know the good girl, good boy thing has been in play for all of us. And I still struggle with it because if I'm fallible, then people won't respect me as a teacher. If I fall down and make mistakes, I won't get that respect. And then they won't follow me and I won't be able to make money and I won't be able to do this or do that. And it's kind of insane. It really
It
keeps us in
is.
this insane loop. It's interesting. I was learning about what's happening in the podcast future and everything, and it's about being raw, it's about being real, because AI is taking us as far away from that as almost possible. And so what they're asking for, so whereby, I mean, I don't wear makeup on these interviews. I'm in my yoga wear. I don't do any special things because I think I want to be real. I want to be seen as that, as someone relatable and real, not someone you can't touch or get close to because I'm so glamorous and so perfect and I have this imperfect world, which is kind of a lie that we've been watching on podcasts and screens for long, long, long time. And it's not all podcasters, mind you. There are a lot of really raw, good
Right.
people out there. I don't want to, but I think it's super important as we're entering into this time period that we give ourselves grace. And I'd like you to finish. I'm sorry, I cut you off a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
no, it's
here,
good.
but
Oh,
this is kind of, I want to dive into some of these topics of where we're headed. But
yes.
please say what you were going to do to finish.
Yeah, I'll just finish quickly. So anyway, that opened up my spiritual journey. And
Hmm.
I was really sitting with the question of like, well, what am I here to do? Like, if I'm not meant to go down this path, what is my true path? And I think I had a belief that only certain people were blessed to have truly purposeful lives. Um, and because I knew people who at a very young age were locked into their soul level purpose. And in 2019, I took a program to discover your soul level purpose. And it was a very intense 3 month program. And you go on a mini vision quest. And it was a lot of introspection and soul work. And it wasn't something I normally would have signed up for, but it just found me. And out of that, I got the download. For the first time in my life, I really got like a strong download that I am meant to be a guide. The same
Hmm.
way that I've been felt lost most of my life and things didn't make sense, and not because I'm someone who has all the answers, but because I'm someone who's just a few steps maybe farther down the path than someone else.
Well, I have to imagine, John, that you're guiding people to find their own answers.
Yes, it's not my truth. It's to find their own.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But
so, but yeah,
you,
but I think a lot of times as a guide, and that's a misperception I had was that guides were the people that had all the, no, they don't have to have the
yeah,
answers. The guides just, it's more about holding space to allow people to find what's true for them, to listen beyond the noise of the mind and kind of tap in. And for the last 5 years, I've been my own quest and also inviting other people who've been also on this path of following success or what they should, to get into alignment, connect to what is true for them, who they truly are at the soul level, and give them permission. I think the one thing that I'm tuning into is I help people take those leaps, give them permission
yeah,
to know that it's okay. Because a quote that I found early on in my journey was by Joseph Campbell, and it says, "The cave we fear to enter holds the treasures we seek."
yeah,
And that's really for me been my guiding principle, is that all tend to avoid pain, or not pain, but fear, which
of
we
course.
assume is going to be painful. And that ultimately causes more challenges. And for me, I know when there's that bit of fear, which can also be excitement disguised, um, that's for me a guidepost. And
Yeah.
so
Well, I think
leaning,
of fear comes out of your first chakra, it's like the tail, and the tail is always following us around. It is until we actually sit down and
right,
move the tail out of the way and
yeah,
go, I'm
right,
standing in my sovereignty. I am standing in myself, my truth. And I am, those fears are there to, like you said, seduce us a little bit into doing courageous acts and really coming out of this place where we think we're smaller than we actually are.
all the
Um,
lies that we tell ourselves, that society tells us,
and that we were told, and in
right?
lots of different ways in society. And so, yeah, I think the
Mhm.
fears they're really good. Like I always say, life is working not to us, but for us. Although it doesn't
And
always
yeah,
feel that way in the moment, like even
right.
though that's exactly what's happening because we're not able to see all the timelines that what is happening right now, which kind of has a sting to it, like it hurts. You're like, oh, why is this happening to me? But we have no idea 10 steps down how this needs to happen for this to actually come into play, which is
Well,
much better for us, much bigger,
yeah.
much better.
And just to wrap it up, about, well, like 4 years ago, I started getting a strong gut feel that it was time to move my family and go on an adventure.
Yeah.
It's something that my wife and I had talked about when we first met, that we wanted to live abroad. We had both lived in different places internationally, and it was in the middle of the pandemic, and was really feeling that kind of that pressure.
Yeah.
Um, and and it wasn't necessarily running away. It's like that there's something more. And I had a strong feeling, and it was against kind of all practical reasons to do this. To move, we didn't even know we were going to move to Portugal up until about 2.5 months before we moved here, sight unseen. And it was really following my gut 100%. And it was a huge decision. I had two teenage kids. Neither one of them was all that excited to move. My wife was dealing with some health issues, some major health issues. And so everything practically was saying, hey, wait until your kids graduate from high school and then you can go. But it was like a kind of that feeling I couldn't ignore, and we did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this actually last week was our 3 year anniversary of moving. And so just celebrating that, and it's amazing what has unfolded in these past 3 years,
Yeah.
um, and in ways that you could never imagine. So it's just a reminder. It doesn't always have to be a big dramatic leap into the unknown, but I'm reminding myself that uh, these calls to take a leap, either very obvious or more subtle, are really the keys for growth. And it's what
Totally.
I'm, yes.
And it sounds like,
So,
having the awareness that the fears are there. They're there.
yes,
They're trying to show themselves because we're, naturally go there. Like I liken it to every time I'm supposed to travel and get on a plane, I have to walk through the fears in my mind about travel on a plane. Like I just do.
right,
I push through them. I do it anyhow, but those fears just love to show themselves for some strange reason. And I'm now entertained by it. I don't give it as much time as I used to give it, and I just push through it. And I just go right through it and beyond it. And that's something, fears they're purposeful in the sense that
right.
if there's a real danger, but I think we need to understand the ones that are programmed and looping and the ones that are really showing us that there's imminent danger in our
Right.
midst.
That's what I was going to ask you, is how you distinguish between maybe the fear from your mind versus a deeper intuition about what's
Yeah, that's such a good question because as you asked me that, I'm still learning.
okay.
I'm still going through the process, so I haven't mastered it, but I it is instinctual sometimes when like a fear arises out of nowhere, like not relatable to anything I was actually thinking about. And I began to explore that a little bit because I'm like, where is that coming from? Versus, um, I know some repetitive. I now, because of my meditation work and awareness, I'm aware of some of these that just come up naturally. That like the flying, maybe afraid of certain relationships, getting started, and what that entails. Like, and so it's these ones that have stories sometimes attached to them on some level to the ones that come up spontaneously that I'm thinking like, okay, I might be getting an intuitional hit about something because this is coming out of nowhere. And
Right.
it's instilling an unknown fear of sorts. And then I start to go, okay, I'm going to note that. I'm going to note it. It may not be happening in this moment, but there's something coming through to indicate that I need to be aware so that I can make what I would call adjustments, if that makes any sense. Like I am aware that there's an adjustment that could be made because I've been privy to something, some information, versus the ones that come up and they've got stories attached to them. They've got a storyline, a tale, if you will, connected to my first
Yeah.
chakra, and I can sort of play them out and learn to massage them and say, listen, I've heard you before. I know you.
Right.
I know you're not entirely real, but you're kind of come into my nature. Like, does that make sense? I'm like,
Yeah. For
yeah.
sure.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's just my experience. I'm a true believer because of astrology and my background in astrology that we're all very unique blueprints. Like there's not one chart like another. I mean, there are similarities, mind you, everywhere, but each person, which is really, you have to take that into consideration. What an outrageous phenomenon that is, that something created each one of us in a unique way, which is in, yeah, I'm at awe when I go to that expansive thought form. And so, and that was the beginning of my journey to try to understand like why we're here, what we're doing here, because this is no easy planet.
It is
It,
not.
it is,
It's not.
I've kept referring to it as Earth School because I think we're under the guise of learning and evolving. And that is, I don't know, maybe most of our journey.
Yes.
However, it's easy. We've been given lots of places to hang out in, like TV and different distractions, so that we don't actually stay on that path, stay on that evolving path. And so, and they, whoever created all this were so smart because what they created was so luxurious, to lay in bed and watch Netflix for 4 episodes, like, and just, have to not have any thoughts, but rather be fed, entertainment and information, eat popcorn, bonbons, do nothing, and the brain just goes, it just like goes to nothingness.
Right. Well,
Go
yeah. I
ahead.
is it. I think it's Aldous Huxley who wrote Brave New World, who's talking about how in the future, the prisons would be ones that we choose to live in because they're so comfortable. And
Absolutely.
right. And so it's yeah, it's that conditioning, like you said, that life is can be comfortable and avoid pain, avoid going against the herd is a big
Hmm.
one.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to tune in. And do you have other themes around the fears that you've experienced throughout your life? Because as you said, different people have different kind of blueprints. What are
Blueprints,
some of the
yeah. Well, mine started in relationship to family, familiar, which is, I think, probably very common to a lot of people because we get set up with karmas really early on. I know for me, I struggled, which is so interesting with the feminine. I was sadly, and I say that sadly in just retrospective understanding, not that I'm feeling it this moment because a lot of healings happened, but sadly I was neglected by my mom. Like
mm,
she was overwhelmed. She learned about me. I'm a twin. She thought she was having one. She found out the day before that she was having two. And I was what was called a superficious twin. I was the second one. And interestingly enough, it's kind of a weird phenomenon, but we were conceived a month apart, born on the same day, 6 minutes apart. But I was unexpected. My mom already had three little ones at home. She thought she was having one to make four, but now she was having five. And when she learned about me, she just turned off her ability to connect with me, because
wow.
I technically put her into overwhelm. I just put her, and I didn't personally, because she
Right.
didn't even know who I was, but I just, in her mind, put her into overwhelm. My father was over the moon because men love big families, and my father was thrilled. So my twin and I lived in a playpen for the first 5 years of our lives, like literally a small playpen. And well, that was the container that my mother had to keep us in so that she could manage the other three that were running around the house endlessly while my father was at work. And so I remember I remember distinctly lifting my arms up at the what I guess was the end of the day when my father would come home and pull me out and hold me. And so I was not held, but my mother had trouble with this. She had trouble with it. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I recalled any of this. But I could see throughout the course of my life my struggle with the feminine, my struggle with my relationships with women and relationships with love and relationships with everything. And it was funny because we would go to my family reunions, and at the end, every other year, we'd get together as a family, and at the end, I would have these little meltdowns, like with my mom. And I'm in my 40s, and I finally, after about the third one, like each year, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. This is insane. Like there is something between you and I can't, I don't know what it is, but it's insane. And I don't want to go through this anymore. So it was really interesting. I asked her to do counseling. And because I was in California and she was in Chicago or Florida at the time, she was willing to do it as a three-way phone conversation. And so for months, we sat uncomfortably and talked about stuff that I was aware of, she wasn't aware of, she didn't want to deal with. But finally, long and the short of it is he he got us to a point where she literally finally admitted out loud that she rejected me and that she struggled with having me in the world, that she didn't have the bandwidth for me. It was interesting because the heat that went through my body as she was saying that was so enormous. I was like, oh my God. I mean, like it was
That's
like the heat,
intense.
heat of my anger, the heat of my understanding, the heat of everything. And it was really interesting because at the end, when she got off and the counselor and he goes, God, Krista, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I was to jump to joy for you because you finally got the truth, or to just race through the phone and hug you because that was so immense to get a truth like that. He goes, in all my years, I've never seen a mother be that truthful, like that honest. And and I said, yeah, it hurt, but it's like it is a gift. It's a gift. My mom was really honest with me. And that was the beginning of our journey back to a relationship. And it
Mm,
was beautiful. We ended up finding a mother-daughter, not really mother-daughter relationship because I think the daughter part was over, but we found a relationship between us. And I'm still very close to her today. And not that we don't have differences on occasion, I just feel really lucky that there's something around truth.
for
Truth is
sure.
so important for fears to be diminished. You need to know that truth. And you, even as difficult as it might be to experience and to hear and to understand and to know, it is the jumping off point into your growth, like into what's then possible for you. Um,
Right.
and while it's lingering in your being, like it was for years and years at my family reunions, I was stuck. I was just totally stuck because I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't tell you what it was. Does that make
Mm,
sense? And it just
yeah.
works on you. It works on you. So I was, and now I'm less fearful. That really allowed me to take risks, to understand relationships more, to go to more depth with them and be unafraid that, yeah, there might be some shit here, like real
Yeah.
shit.
What's the saying that the truth shall set you free? So it sounds like that truth from your mother, as painful as it was, really helped set you free.
Yeah, it did. It did for sure. It did for sure. And I honor her for being truthful. And I
Mm,
honor myself for hanging in there and wanting to know it, even though,
right.
it was painful. And no one wants to be neglected in this lifetime. That doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But we will be. We will be rejected. We will be neglected. And it's not because I often think it's not really because a person dislikes you entirely, or doesn't want you around. I mean, I literally believe it's because there's something inside of them they can't deal with yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yes. I'm curious, was there a story you told yourself at a young age that helped you explain or justify the way your mom was with you as a child?
No, I grew up in Saturn. So if you know anything about Vedic astrology, Saturn's a 19-year period, and it caused me to go out and look for love in really not good places. So no, actually, it was. I look back and not that my childhood was bad, it wasn't at all, but I was lost. I now today know that I am the love. I am this unique love that I am, this blueprint, but back then I didn't know that I was love. I didn't know if I was even lovable. Like and so I would choose people who reflected that, who weren't were probably neglected too in some form or another. And, and so we're both starving. I was like going after relationships with people that were starving like I was starving. And so that was sad. Like if I look back, I had nice relationships too. I don't want to foreshadow this as all, but I realized Saturn when you're in Saturn periods, it's about learning. It's about learning what's in your first chakra. And what's in your first chakra are your fears, are your control patterns, are, the places that you need to learn, you need to understand, you need to come to terms with. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
made and I remember losing out on stuff I really did feel that I wanted and liked. And that was sad because it made me go, God, can we get what we want? Can we get what we love and what's important to us? So it put me in deep questioning, deep questioning. And when I lost my dad when I was 18, and interestingly enough, he began to travel to me in spirit form in dream time.
Oh,
He introduced me to yoga, literally in dream time. Took me to India, showed me yoga, showed me what was
oh wow.
possible in dream time. Because I didn't have a mom. And I think he knew that after he passed, because I really do think we're just spirit. He was, by his own volition or by God's volition, asked to come and meet with me and see me through these tough years from 18 to about 24. He visited me practically like once a year in dream time. And we sat and had long conversations. And he even came and said goodbye to me. The last time he visited me, he literally sat on, actually, it was over 20 years. I should be really clear. Not until I was 24, until I was about 20 plus years. And he sat on my bed and said, "This is the last time I will visit you." And we literally said goodbye to each other. And I mean, I woke up where he was sitting with tears encrusted all over my face from the place I hugged him when he left. And so I say that to say that, I learned through him and through life that we're eternal, that we're a spirit, that these bodies are just here for this incarnation, this lesson time, this learning time, this earth school experience that we're having. And it gives me a lot of liberty now to understand that. And he did say goodbye and say, "You're on your own now. You can handle this. You don't need a parent anymore." Because, and in that time, that's when my mom and I were learning to know each other again and learning to have an acceptable relationship, which was interesting from the timing of it all. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, these are the primary relationships I feel like are so core to our journey and our path.
for sure.
And and even as adults, coming to peace with our relationship with our mother and father. And some people don't even know who they are, or they have, we have step parents. And so, yeah, that's been a big part of my journey because in hindsight, I see that I was wanting to follow the path of success to get the approval and love from my dad. And
Hmm.
ironically, the more I went down that path, I didn't get it. But once I started going down my true path, surprisingly, I did felt I now feel very seen by my father. And
Uh,
and so which was surprising. And
yeah,
I think I resented him for like, wait, I'm going down this path to get your approval and you're not even recognizing all the hard work I'm putting into. Like, what's going on here?
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, coming to peace with our relationship with
Well,
our
it's so
parents.
interesting because it is your journey, John.
Yes,
Like it is your journey. We have such intelligence inside of us that,
right,
that really the powers that be right now are keeping us from. However, they're not. It's a choice factor. Once you're
of
awake and
course.
aware, you can be kept from it all you want. And you can just be distracted all you want, or
Yeah,
you can use Saturn for the discipline Saturn gives you to do the work, to
right.
keep that connection, to keep that and keep and stay inside. I mean, there's like a whole universe inside of us. Like we are a
That's right.
mere image of the universe, I believe. And
Yeah,
I teach that in my meditation, my daily meditation every morning, that we're just a mere image of a universe out there that is so massive and so abundant and so beautiful. And it's fun. We're exploring plasma now, and that 99% of matter is plasma, and the stars are plasma, and the dark matter is plasma, and the sun is plasma, and we're plasma. And I think it's going to be the new frontier of awakening. And I think we're
Mm,
going to move into some really cool places because I think we're going to instantly create now. Things are going to be like spontaneously created through this understanding of plasma and and it's funny, it's been written about in books, but it's coming to the forefront. And I think they don't want us to know about this. So, more importantly, we need to learn about it, all of us,
right,
all of us.
right. Well, that seems
Yeah,
like, but just kind of tying up with your experience, I can imagine as a child who had that experience, there's these stories that we say like, well, maybe I'm not worthy of love, or I'm too much, or I'm not enough, or um, and in my experience, it seems that for women, typically the story could be I'm too much. So they have
yeah.
to uh,
Emotionally, because we're emotional
emotion,
beings.
yeah,
Yeah,
emotional, and so it's not safe to fully express, and so a lot of that people pleasing and kind of dimming their
yeah.
power. And for men, it can often be I'm not enough, so we overcompensate by trying to prove and force um, and that's programming from our families, from society. And
So much
yeah, I'm just
so.
curious for you, like what do you think you released, or what was the programming that you've
Well,
unprogrammed?
I think my father, in his visitations, began to teach me through my yoga practice that we are just spirit, that this body and this experience is, and what I got to is that we're eternal, like we are eternal,
That's a big
and
one. Yeah.
yeah, and that I mean, I would lie if I was saying I'm not afraid of death on the physical realm, like the pain that's incurred around death. I'm so not looking forward to that. But the idea of leaving the Earth school isn't really that frightening for me. I'm convinced that, and now have, because of meditation, a more intimate relationship with the spirit world, and realize that there is so many beautiful energies available to all of us. I've had people that I went down the rabbit hole of people who had pierced the veil through death and come back. Um,
Yeah.
and I had a cousin who experienced that, and so I learned about his story. And there's a phenomenon there that maybe part of the matrix as well. We're not sure yet, but it occurred to me that. I don't want to, the only thing that I probably worry about at this stage is failing this incarnation in the sense that I want to fulfill whatever I'm here to fulfill. And I don't, it's funny. I
Yeah.
through my gene key, they said I won't know my purpose right. I'll know it right before I leave. So I'm like, boy, I hope today's not the day. But
Right.
with that being said, I just feel like for me, I think we're all very interconnected. And I think we're eternal in that interconnectedness, that we are just spirit, and that these bodies in their and now in their plasma state, we can pixelate ourselves to move in and out of timelines, in and out of experiences. I do, as you do, healing work with people, and I do something called emotional code work, and I literally can work and play proxy for another human's body and spirit across the world. Like I could work with someone in Dubai, and I can do this work and I can play proxy for them. I can work
Wow.
energetically on them and shift energies only with their permission, mind you. They have to give me 100 permission to do this. You can never do this without that. But in that, so they're what appears to be thousands and thousands of miles away, but energetically, they're right here. Like
Yeah.
we're not separated. And so I think that's just was is still mind blowing to me. Like I even do the work and I'm mind blown by it that I can do
Yes.
this. But I can do this. You can do this. My neighbor can do this. We can all do this. Like, I'm not special in doing this. I just have chosen to do it. I've chosen to
Yeah.
awaken to this ability and to use it. And it must be used in God's eyes with respect. Like, it cannot be, you can't merge, which people do all the time. That's why relationships get so messy. We merge without permission into someone else's energetic body, and we take and we and that is like very unconscious, and that's why relationships mostly don't work, is because
Right.
the merging and the separation is not happening consciously between two people. And this can be a parent to a child, it can be in romantic, whatever it is. So when we become aware that we can help, we can merge, we can work with, we can consciously separate out from, and which I do in these, in the context of this work I do. I let them know I am disconnecting from them. They will be separately in their own energy as I will be in my own. And they have shifted some of their energy and shifted some of their experience. And because what we're doing is we're pulling out old emotional patterning. And then they have this ability to bring in new emotional, right, patterning if they want. Now, the old can sweep back in if they want to hang in that looping still, but they can also, they have space in their body now to bring in something new, something that's different, a different reaction to maybe an ongoing experience they've been having. So maybe they met it with fear, now they're meeting it with courage. So it's just, and then they start a repatterning, a reprogramming. So this can be really powerful for all of us. And like I said, anyone can do this. That's the thing. I mean, we do each individually have unique blueprints and gifts, but much of this energy work is available to everyone. You just have to want to do it, and you want to wake up to it, and you want to be aware of it, and you want to be conscious to it. And that's what I think our educational system needs to start working with.
Yeah, for
Start
sure.
teaching us when we're young that we have these abilities, we have these
Oh,
capabilities that are innate to us, and how deep and much better many relationships will be with individuals on planet Earth if they had this teaching early on.
well, we may be waiting a while if we're waiting for our school system to teach that, but it's something that we have to start doing in our families and without
Yes.
preaching. It's
Yes.
and I was someone who was very much growing up into science. I think I blended spirituality and religion early
Mm.
on and then rejected religion and by definition spirituality. And what's fascinating to me as someone who's been always curious as a kid to understand like this universe we live in and how things work is that I'm seeing now, because I started exploring quantum physics. And
Mm.
what we're seeing now is this blending that science, the deeper sciences are able to explain things that from a from a perspective that explains spirituality. And
Yes, they've been
so,
separate and
yes,
kept
we've
that
been
way
keeping that
specifically.
right. And so when we start to see the filtered science that we learned about kind of this reductionist, real physical model that is taught to us at a young age, whether it's evolution, whether it's um, uh, you know particle physics, that doesn't really explain how we're knowing things are working at the level at the quantum around vibration, frequency, quantum entanglement, and all that. These are two different models that are now being reconciled, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating to me to know
Right.
energy is
Well, it has no
real,
boundaries like a
right?
religion has. You know, it's
Exactly.
expansive and it's moving out and it's not
Yeah.
controllable. And
Well,
religion keeps things in a container to the, with a hierarchy. And not that
for
religion
sure.
is completely bad. There's some moral, development there, if you will, which can be very helpful. But we're moving out of that.
Yeah.
Like,
And that we can only filter and understand through our brain, our senses, our five senses, just a fraction of percent of all the energy that's actually out there. And when you start to understand just how limited it is when we're just using our physical senses to understand the world around us, of course we're getting a filtered, limited view.
yeah.
And so as you're talking about doing energy work on people across the country, I mean that's they're proving that with kind of quantum entanglement, where they can excite one particle or neutron and miles away instantly without any time delay, that other particle is being affected. And
Well, it's no different than you thinking about your friend. Like I'm thinking about you in Portugal, and all of a sudden you have a thought about me.
of course,
I
it's
pop into
all
your mind, maybe for a fleeting second, but you were connected to that thread of consciousness.
instantly, and how powerful thought is, and
Hmm.
and all the I think I told you that I was in the world of health and wellness and always approached it and looked at it from this kind of mechanical, physical standpoint. Um, and I have become familiar with the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. You know, the
Oh,
power of the
yeah.
mind and how much healing can happen just through our thoughts. And we know on one hand, intuitively, that stress can cause illness, right? That stress can affect our body negatively
In the looping of that
in the
lower
looping.
vibration. Yeah.
Yeah. But when we have that when we can have a positive vision of our health and well-being, that the opposite can happen, that the body, that our physical reality can actually change through the power of thought. So it goes both ways. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're referring to about being able to change the
Well,
story and let go of that programming that says we're just
meditation
people.
really helps with that because
Yeah.
being able to sit still for a bit and just watch the mind and see where the mind goes and what it does, and then like a horse start to rein it in, if you will. Like, it's really interesting because when you ride horses, if you have to hold the reins, but if you hold them too tightly, you're going to really disrupt your ride and the horse, and he's not going to have it. But when you hold it loosely and you hold everything really loosely and lightly, like you're gonna begin trotting, you're gonna begin posting, you're gonna begin to really move. You're gonna start
Yeah.
to gallop and move so beautifully with the horse, and so this is what I'm wishing for life and everyone is not holding tight and like worrying about the next thing that's going to fall and what's going to happen, which is kind of what we have been braced for because it's so interesting on the internet. You think like in the division that people find themselves in that all the videos are true and they're rehashing what you already know and they're concluding that you're correct. Those people are bad. They keep telling you like over and over again in a different storyline so that you don't have any other thought form, but those people are bad. Like I don't like that side. I'm on this side. And they're doing that to everybody. When in fact, they're doing exactly what they know happens to the brain. They're doing reinforcement. And then we're buying into it. And so our job is to pull back, really pull back away from all those narratives and go inside and like ask inside, like, is that true? Like,
Yeah.
is that really true? And I think we'll find that the joy and the light and the love and that resonance inside of us, and it's not all perfect inside of us, mind you. I'm not saying it's all perfect, but you're going to find a lot of what you're being reinforced outside is not really matching up with your inside at all, like at all. And so that's why yeah, I needed to learn through meditation. I had to do it. I had to like show up for it. I had to use my discipline. And I've finally gotten to a point where I can't live without it, which is really great to come to that. But at the same time, I get if it's hard to enter into. I get it's because um, layers of like thought forms might have to be penetrated. Layers of programming might have to, you might have to see um, some shame, some places where you cut yourself off, some places where
Right.
you didn't allow yourself to be who you really were, like little layers. But as you peel through those, as you go through them, and as the older you get, the quicker you can go through them, all of a sudden, then there's this like unbelievable reflection of this vast, powerful, abundant universe waiting for you, waiting. And so I real people think I'm idealistic and maybe I am, but generally I'm happy. Like generally I'm in a really, really good space because of my meditations, because I can see the whole picture. I've decided not to see just half of it or just this corner of it, but I'm going, okay, I can see the whole picture and I can hold these darker storylines and pictures loosely now. Now, they used to get me. I used to get upset. I used to get thrown. Now I'm at a space where I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? Look, is that real? What's happening? And I think a lot of people are getting to this point with AI.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah. No, I'm just curious because you mentioned the framework that we're living in as Earth School, that there's all this programming. And I've had a similar thought, and I too used to get outraged about all the programming and the deception. And it comes at every level. You know, it comes from out there, whether it's the media or the government or um, our society, but we also can deceive ourselves, right? It's at every
for sure.
level. And
Those are the layers, that
the
you.
layers, right? And they're all connected.
Mhm.
And similarly, I've had a shift from almost feeling victimized by this matrix to seeing it as a cosmic game, to this is part of the game of not trying to escape the matrix so much as through just my own version of deception. It's like breaking out of jail. It's like
Yeah.
the jail cell is open and we just have to choose to walk out. We've been deceived that we have to stay in there, and can we just have the courage to walk through? And that takes a lot of trust. I think the the key is to let go of needing permission, putting uh, your trust in some force or authority outside of yourself, and to start trusting that inner authority that allows you to navigate all the traps that keep wanting you to be back from being separate. And
Well, you
so,
know how I got out a lot of that? I'm a
curious.
Kundalini teacher. And what Kundalini yoga brought to me, which is so amazing, is mantra. Um,
Mm,
so mantra means to trick the mind. And so, what we do in Kundalini is we repeat something over and over again, often in song. And the beauty of the song is that it brings in the harmonics because we're just an instrument, like we really are. We're just, and we can play our instrument beautifully, or we can have broken strings everywhere and it's just not being useful at all to us. And so part of yeah, this talk that we're having today is part of a series because I'm praying and hoping and working towards a collective harmonic awakening, which
mm,
I feel is going to be epic. And there's an old saying: if you build, if you build it, they will come. So I'm in the process of how could we, because the one thing I've seen through the cross of cultures everywhere, and we're in cultural wars right now, for sure, race wars, cultural wars, all this thing. But there's one place where we all join forces, and it is through harmonics, through frequency, through song, through singing and energy. And Kundalini is one form of that. Every culture has its music. Every culture has its dance. Every culture has its way to bring people into harmonics.
mm.
And so I'm excited to believe and think and know, and I'm in a knowing now about it, that we can head into a world harmonics
I
and
love
that we
that.
can head into a place where all of us, not even that we're all singing the same song, because we're not, and I
No.
don't expect anyone to, but we can, over maybe the course of time, I don't know if it's 24 hours or a month or something, we can start to really resonate in this harmonic state, which I believe is of a frequency so high that the darker frequencies that we're dealing with right now will not be able to coexist. And so
Mm,
it doesn't mean that you've got to get through all the layers of your darkness, all the layers of your development. Um, you just have to show up and sing or do,
right.
and there's many incredible artists out there that provide mantra, Om Shivaya, there's so many things. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti is just peace. You could say that over and over again. And when you get really busy in the mind and you get fearful and you're scared and you're worried and you're this and that, you just sit quiet and you're like, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. And you just let it drop into your body because Shanti is peace. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. And then you start to change your frequency just by the words. Because we were talking in the beginning before we recorded about words or spells. Like I always say grand rising because I don't want to say good morning because I don't want to mourn well today. I want to rise in my light, in my love, in my unique blueprint. And mourning, I don't want that. I'm not about mourning. That's not where I want to
True.
hang
Right. Just
out.
the harmonics of the word morning, MOR. And yeah,
It
yeah.
is. And like words are spells and we're waking up to that. And what we say, this throat chakra is connected to the plasma I was talking about. It's such a
Mm,
powerful chakra because it's the
yeah.
ether, it's the space, it goes out. So what you say reverberates out in through the plasmic field, out into, people. That's why, podcasts and different things reverberate out, out, out. And
Yeah.
hopefully they
Yeah.
meet ears and they awaken and they help. And it happens to everyone. And this is where I really realize when it comes to this, we're all on the same playing field. Everyone is. No one's here, no one's there. Harmonics is right here. We're all on the same
Good.
playing field. And it's
I
so
love it.
beautiful and it's available to everyone, everywhere. There's nowhere where it's not.
Yeah, I love the metaphor of harmonics or that framework. And I've heard this, someone else was saying that we're in the uh, human symphony. And the goal is for each of us to find our own instrument. And it's not for the person that born an oboe player to be a violin, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the problem with humans is that we believe we should be something that we're not.
Yep.
And
And we
um,
compare ourselves to others,
right, we
which
compare,
is
and
such
it's
a
like,
waste of
right. So the
energy
first
and
step
time.
is to understand what instrument are we? What's our music? And then we come together. Just a symphony requires that we're all playing our own instrument well.
Exactly.
And then, as you're saying, there's the background energy and frequency that we start tuning into. And so it's like maybe it's more like a jam band, right? But we start feeling the frequency of what's the vibe in this space right now, and we can all start playing our instrument. And some people are playing lead guitar, others are the tambourine and harmonic. It doesn't really matter. It's all part of it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and I think
Exactly.
for a long time, that's the I think that's the trap that we can fall into is we all think we should be the lead guitarist or the drum player. We're not. That's not our frequency, um, or
It's
our
really it's
harmonic.
really about how it makes you feel. And
Right.
like and that's what we have to tune into. Like I'm choosing this because I feel so good when I listen to it, or I feel so good when
Yeah.
I sing along to it, or I feel so good like that's it. Like, follow your bliss, follow the love that you are, like, follow like to the music that you love. And like I said, we'll not all be listening to the same music. However, there is programming in music right now that is being, and people have to be very, very careful of this, and they're installing dark, low frequencies into
Oh yeah.
music. And so people have to be very astute how they are feeling in music. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
People who are already, I'm sorry to say this, already taken over by the dark side will continue to listen to that music, and that's all they'll listen to because it vibrates at the level that they're existing at. But for those of us who want to awaken and up level and really find this harmonic love vibration that like is
Well,
forever around us and within us, there are music there look into the Kundalini music world, the sonatum cars, the porter singers, the gosh, there's so many and they're so elevated, and there isn't a time I don't do their chants that I don't feel elevated. And it's funny because I'll go down to my coffee shop after my meditation of singing, and people are like, God, your energy's so great. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm vibrating at a
yeah.
really high
Well,
level.
you can feel it. I went to a Sam Garrett concert, and he's kind of this mix of reggae and Kundalini,
I
for sure.
love him. He's
Yeah, and
amazing.
it's such a high
Yes,
vibration for sure.
very
And
much so.
but it's not even new. I went down the rabbit hole, and it used to be that orchestras and music was tuned to 432 hertz. And I think it was in World War II, Joseph Goebbels in Germany, he had everything tuned to 440, which is not
It's
like, which
a
is
it's a dissonant
it's
sound.
a dissonance.
Yeah,
And 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 so that instills that fear. And we know that when people are in a state of fear, they're more malleable. And
totally.
so this is all proven by science. I used to work for a company that was working with sound frequencies, and they
Yep.
all different, just like in that tradition of sound healing and the different singing bowls and crystals. Each one of those frequencies, if they're in that natural range and frequency, they all have different impact on the body, for
They
sure.
really do. They do.
Yeah,
John, this has been so fun.
yeah,
I'm gonna bring this to a close, and I'm gonna share a story that I love to share because there's a woman named Amma. Do you know Amma, the hugging saint out of South
yes, yes,
India,
yes,
Kerala? Yeah. So she has a ashram here in California, and but before her ashram was ever created, she used to show up at what was our civic center here. And a friend of mine said, you must go, you must see who she is and get a darshan, a hug, if you will. So I arrived there, and it was about, I don't know, like 5 in the afternoon, and she was about to speak, and they gave me a darshan ticket for, I think it was 1,045. And I went up and I said, well, what number are you guys on? And she's like, oh, we're on 200. I was like, when will my ticket come up? She goes, late, like that. And not knowing who she was, I heard her talk, and there was an interpreter because she was speaking in her Hindi language. And I thought she was beautiful. I thought her talk was amazing. I connected, but my boyfriend was at home. He was making dinner. There was a movie waiting to be watched, and I just was like, I wasn't awake that much. This was back in the 90s, so I went home, did my thing with my boyfriend, hung out, go to bed. Okay, 1 o'clock in the morning. Bang! I am sitting up in the bed, and my boyfriend next to me is like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I gotta go." He's like, "You gotta go. You gotta go where?" I'm like, "Back to the Civic Center." And he's like, "For what?" I was like, "I don't know, but I have to go." It is pouring rain outside. It is a Sunday night. I get in my car. I'm driving up to the Civic Center. It's pouring. There's only huge trucks on the road. I am the only one. I get there and the music, oh my Lord, I walk in and the music is blaring. People are singing. It's just the energy. And I walk up and, I'm being told, go get your Darshan ticket, your hug. And I still have it because it was in my purse. And I go up and I said, what number are you guys on? And they're like, we're on 1,025. So I was
oh
20 people away from getting my ticket,
my God.
getting my hug. So I walk up and I get my hug, and she is holding me and she's rocking me. And then she pulls the girl next to her and goes, put her in the back. And so, and there's like, she's asked you to go to the back. And I go, what's back there? She goes, she probably wants to give you a mantra. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go to the back and I sit there for like an hour. I'm like in this little room, with curtains, walls and curtains around me. And And I wait and I wait and I wait. And finally, the girl comes in and she sits with me and she goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's just been a long time." And she said, "I just want you to understand that most people ask for a mantra. It is really rare that she gives a mantra." So I had to wait for
Mm.
her to give me the mantra that you are to have. And she sat with me and she said, "You will use this for your protection this lifetime. You will use this to elevate yourself and others. Do you understand?" And I was like, "I think so." I'm like, yeah, I guess I have
Sure.
to. I don't know what else to do. So I was given that mantra. And I have to tell you, that mantra has saved my ass more times than I can tell you. And it helps me when I am afraid and when I am scared. And it's funny, I've never been a devout follower of her, but she called me out of bed. And this is why I say this story to say that spirit is here. We are connected. Her spirit met my spirit. Her spirit got me out of bed and got me down there. Her spirit wanted my spirit to have something for whatever reason. And so I feel eternally grateful for that. And that is happening all the time for all of us if we allow it, if we open up
Mm.
to it. Does that make sense?
That's an amazing story. Yeah. Can you share the mantra again?
I cannot share it because it is private to
Ah,
me. When she gives you a mantra, you are not to share it. Just like when you understand what your animal totem is, you're really not supposed to tell people. You're supposed to
okay.
work with that spirit animal quietly. It's an interesting phenomenon in life that some things need to be cultivated in silence
Right.
and
Makes sense.
created and not come out verbally and for the world because we know how the energies of darkness can come in and crush things. And we don't want that to happen. We really like, so there are some things that can be freely expressed, and there's other things that should be held close to the heart for a while, entrusted to the right people until the world is ready to receive it. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
So I kind of feel like this is one of those things that I just have to entrust to myself and utilize. But it feels good to have it, and it's a mantra that's out there. It isn't like a special one to me. It is just out there for all people. If you were to sit quietly and tune into Amma and ask Amma for your mantra, I think she would tell it to you, like right through spirit. You wouldn't
Oh,
have to
wow.
go see her and meet up with her.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
she is out there. She is the mother. And that's the other thing. Like I think the sacred divine feminine is coming in really strong right now and really needed to sit in her rightful place, not below, not above, but right next to the sacred divine masculine. And the beloved, the union has to happen inside ourselves first and foremost.
Yeah.
Then it can happen outside of ourselves in ways that can really serve not only us, but our neighborhoods, our families, humanity. And that is coming, that beloved relationship. It's really getting cultivated exponentially right now. That's what I feel. And for those who want it,
Yeah. I'm feeling it too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing story. And it feels like this is a topic that could go on for a long, long time. But I, yeah, I definitely appreciate hearing your insights. And I've known you for quite a while. And I always feel like I learned something helpful for me on my journey. So thank you.
Likewise, I mean, I
Yeah.
learned from you as well, John, and I thank you for holding that divine, sacred masculine. I feel like that's why I asked you to kind of have this conversation with me because you hold it so well, and I know it comes naturally, but it's also you've worked on it. You know that it's had to be cultivated, and you have cultivated it in a really beautiful way because you hold sacred space with not only me today, but I know you hold it with your clients, your family, your community. And that is to be revered and respected and to be honored. And I really want people to hear that about you and about
Um,
what's possible for all men. This is
yeah.
like if
Yeah. That's something I've been connecting to. And it's that the sacred masculine isn't about forcing domination, exerting power. It's about holding space. And especially for the divine feminine, whether that's a woman or within ourselves, for that creative space, connecting to love. And it really is really freeing when men, I think, especially can tap into that. That there's it's not something they're actively needing to do. It's something
Yeah,
we get to just ground and hold that space and then allow the the dance, whether it's within ourselves between the masculine and the feminine, to coexist. So I love, yeah,
exactly. Well, in ending this beautifully, thank you. Thank you so
yeah,
much for
yeah.
being
Thank you
here.
too for
And
inviting me. This is fun.
yeah, such a great conversation. And remember, we're 99% plasma, and plasma rules the imagination. And so we are ready, I believe, the more of us that get on this beautiful this opportunity to create our future, to imagine the future that we want. And it's so important that we hold it, not in just dream state, but in knowingness, in its
And
possibility.
feeling it. I think of
Feeling it,
feeling it.
feeling
That's,
it.
yes.
Yes, I love
And
that. Oh,
yeah. And I
all
think it
right.
helps to feel it in conversation. Right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can feel it now. So
Yeah.
thank you. This is awesome.
Thank you. Oh, such a
Okay.
good conversation. Um, Love to your family, love to your community. I am so excited to get out to Portugal at some point because I loved
Yes.
Port. We hiked on the Camino through Portugal, so I'm really eager to get back there and see
Anytime.
more of it.
Anytime.
So to be
Yes.
continued,
To be continued.
I'm going to end the recording here and we can stick around.